What is going on, everybody? It's your boy Chris Evans here with Zero Meter Chasers live on this July 9th at 5:10 Eastern here. I just wanted to give a quick radar update for everybody. I know we've had a lot of updates here, keeping you guys informed on what to expect as we kind of advance here later in the afternoon. This is looking at the Weatherfront website and looking at our radar currently in Kentucky right now at 5:10. So the only thing I ask is that we get some comments in the chat just so that I know that the audio is working, as there has been times where my audio has not been working at the start of the videos. So I just want to make sure that you guys can hear me before we get going here. But again, we're looking here at the Weatherfront website, and you guys can see we do have some scattered thunderstorm development here in southern Indiana and southern Illinois. But if I zoom out just a little bit here, you guys will see. Appreciate your mic. You guys will see that we are almost everybody in Kentucky now is completely dry. We talked about that today, that our storm threat today was not going to start until the evening. And now it's looking like the overnight hours is really when we're going to see majority of that rainfall that we've been talking about for the last couple of days. But again, if we look right now, most of that storm development here is in southern Illinois and southern Indiana, just northeast of Mount Vernon and north of I-64. And if I zoom in a little bit here, you guys can see we have a lot of outflow boundaries that have been sparked by these storms. What I'm going to do is put this in motion for you just a little bit. And you guys will see these storms are kind of throwing out boundaries here and sparking and dying off. And the reason for that is because our real complex of storms, if I zoom all the way out here, is not in southern Indiana or southern Illinois. It is still all the way back here into St. Louis. So this is where our MCS or MCV is currently. And I will draw that out here because I kind of want to explain the setup as we get into tonight with you guys. But here is that little area, mini area of low pressure. And it's around St. Louis right now. So these storms that are on the outer bands here of this MCV complex, if you will, are just kind of your pop-up thunderstorms. These are kind of what we've been dealing with for the last couple of days. We don't have that organized severe weather threat because that mini low pressure is still all the way back here into St. Louis. And it does not look to come into Kentucky until we get into later this evening into the overnight hours. So I do think that we could have a couple of pop-up thunderstorms as we get into later this afternoon, but our widespread storm risk does not look to arrive here, especially along the I-65 corridor, until we get after 9 p.m. It looks to be 10 p.m. to maybe even 2 a.m., and we could continue to have repeated rounds of storms as we get into the afternoon, or as we get into the evening and overnight hours into your Friday. So what I'm going to do now is kind of look at some model data. So again, right now, just looking at radar, we have some pop-up thunderstorms here. Excuse me, and Illinois and Indiana. And we could have a couple more pop-up thunderstorms here. We'll look at the model data, but no widespread severe weather or just widespread thunderstorm activity is expected until we get further into the evening and overnight hours. So if I take this drawing off here, we will get into some model data. And I do want to look at the latest HRRR here real quick for you guys. And I'll tell you, the HRRR has kind of been showing the same trend here for the last couple of runs. So I do think that it has a pretty good handle on the setup as we get into the evening and overnight hours. So if you look at the top left of your screen here, this is going to be your timestamp. So this is today at 5 p.m. So right now, and you'll see the HRRR is doing a pretty good job, is showing some thunderstorms here in southwestern Kentucky that are not happening. But if we advance it here to about 8 p.m., again, most of the state is going to remain dry. If I zoom out, remember that MCV complex is still all the way out here in St. Louis, and it's kind of just meandering around. It's a little bit slower than some of the model data was suggesting, which is why I think it could push some of our rain chances into the overnight hours. Now, with that being the case, I do think that might lower our severe risk just a little bit because we don't have the heating of the day, right? So we might have a little bit of a lower severe risk, but again, I'm still really worried about the repeated rounds of showers and storms that could lead to a flash flooding risk as we get into the overnight hours. So again, 8 p.m. we could have some scattered thunderstorms, very, very isolated thunderstorms as you get into your Thursday at 10 p.m. I just think it'll be like those pop-up thunderstorms that we've seen. You'll see, though, if we go back here by St. Louis at 10 p.m., we're finally starting to get some organized convection where that MCV or that mini low pressure is located at. So if we advance it forward here about to midnight, again, you can see that low pressure is all the way here. It's now into southern Illinois. And the one thing that I want to show now is take a look at radar right now. You can see storms are starting to advance into western Kentucky at midnight. We could have a round of storms here near Louisville, but I think that's still more of your pop-up thunderstorms or maybe some thunderstorm development off the outflow boundary. The majority of our thunderstorm development is going to be here in western Kentucky. And if I show you the 500 millibar flow, you're going to see why. So again, this is our jet streak or just the wind field above our heads that allows for thunderstorm development. And you can see that jet streak at midnight here is right along St. Louis to Cape Girardeau in southern Illinois into western Kentucky. And we don't have much of a wind field here in central or southern Kentucky. So that's the reason why our severe risk is pretty low right now and continues to be low because that MCV is the only wind source that we have to support severe storms, and it's kind of meandering here off near St. Louis. But if I fast forward this here to about 3 a.m., you can see the flow is very, very, very oriented west to east here, which is not good. When the flow is kind of like this and everything's going like this, that can lead to a training of thunderstorms as we get into our overnight. And you can kind of see a little bit of the strengthening of the wind field as well as we get into 3 a.m. So even if we don't see a severe risk as we get into 3 a.m., this jet streak right here is going to enhance the rainfall rates that we'll have overnight. If we look at the 850s too, you'll see we have a strong 850 jet that gets stronger throughout the night here. Again, this is at 11 p.m. here out in western Kentucky. And as we fast forward it here to about 3, you can see where that flow is really set up here from western Kentucky all the way into the I-65 corridor. So a little bit of meteorology for you guys. That's what's going to spark those thunderstorms as we get into the overnight hours. And I'll show you here what the HRRR is kind of showing. So we'll go to about that midnight time frame. And remember that jet streak is just now getting a little bit stronger here out in western Kentucky. And as we advance this forward, you will see we'll have scattered shower and thunderstorm development along that jet streak. This is here at 3 a.m. So it does look like the timing is getting a little bit slower here for the I-65 corridor. But if you're in western Kentucky, you're going to see thunderstorms as early as 10 p.m. or 11 o'clock Central Time. So I do think that the timing here still looks like to be 10-1 for western Kentucky, but it does look to be maybe 1-3 a little bit later here for the I-65 corridor with these thunderstorms. But again, you can see these storms are kind of dying off, and we talked about the cold pooling or just the heavy rain and repeated rounds of showers and storms behind this initial MCS. So again, this is at 3 a.m. And if I fast forward the HRRR here, you can see, especially out here in western Kentucky, we have another complex of storms rolling in tomorrow morning at the morning commute, and this would be the second round of storms here in far western Kentucky. I'm becoming a little bit concerned for the flash flooding threat here near Paducah and Murray, especially if this were to pan out. You guys can see I don't think the severe threat would be as high because we're pushing everything overnight. But to have that cold pooling and then to have another complex of storms here as you get into your morning rush on Friday, that could lead to a significant flash flooding event out here in western Kentucky. So I'm going to kind of draw a circle here for you guys. This is the area that I've been most concerned about for the flash flooding risk here for the rest of tonight into tomorrow morning. Far western Kentucky, from Madisonville to Hopkinsville to Murray to Paducah. So if you guys know anybody in that area or you live in that area, I am worried about the flash flooding risk. I think we could see localized 3 to 5 inches, maybe even more heavy rain as we get into tomorrow morning, especially if this second round of storms pans out. If you get a second round behind the first wave of MCS, we're going to see flash flooding 100% Western Kentucky. So I just wanted to keep you guys weather aware with that. I'm really worried about the flash flooding risk with kind of the timing of everything getting pushed back just a little bit. So I'm going to go through this simulated radar one more time for you guys here. And then if you guys have any questions, please be sure to put this in the chat so I can be sure to answer any questions that you have. So really the biggest concerns that we have tonight is the strong storm threat really after 9 p.m. in Kentucky. And then the overnight storm threat and the that'll lead to a flash flooding and just a flooding threat in general as we get into overnight on Thursday into your Friday morning. So here again is your timestamp one more time. Storms start pushing into Western Kentucky anywhere around 10 o'clock to midnight. We'll have to see if these are strong or severe. And I do think we'll get a couple of damaging wind threat with this, a couple severe thunderstorm warnings with that. And then as we push into 2 a.m., that Boeing segment here near Evansville could definitely lead to a couple of severe warnings as well. And then ongoing repeated rounds of showers and storms in Western Kentucky. And you guys can see with the flow going from west to east, all of this is kind of coming eastward. So I do think if you're along the I-65 corridor in Louisville, E-Town, or Bowling Green, I'm thinking anywhere around 1 a.m. to 3 a.m. right now looks like the timing for any stronger storms, but we'll have repeated storms all the way through your morning commute, it looks like right now, along the I-65 corridor. So if you live in Lexington, we might have a couple of pop-up storms ahead of that. We'll have to track and see if there is that northern wave of storms that some of the model data was showing that'll kind of try to track towards Lexington. But if you don't get that, then this will be the show. But this will kind of die off again as we get to about 3 or 4 o'clock. And then this will just be kind of heavy rain for everybody behind that as we go into our morning commute. So that's kind of what I'm looking at right now. I do think there will be another wave behind this on Friday afternoon, especially again out here in Western Kentucky. So if I do one thing here, if we look at the total QPF, this is just for tonight. And guys, that's not good. So that's in Cape Girardeau. This is the HRRR showing almost 5 inches. Let me actually get a real number on the highest totals that it's showing. It's showing almost 6 inches of over 6 inches of rain here in near the Boot Hill of Missouri. So that is not good. It does show widespread 2 to 4 inches of rain here in far southern Illinois, far southern Missouri, and far western Kentucky. So we will have to watch this flash flooding threat as we get into the evening and overnight hours. Again, it will really depend on how everything tracks, how all these thunderstorms kind of track here in the next couple of hours. That first MCS is really going to lay the track for everything, though. And I am worried about the flash flooding threat. Even here in Madisonville, you can see if I zoom out here, there is even away from just that the repeated rounds, you'll have some scattered amounts of 1 to 2 inches of rain wherever you get that heavy rainfall from any of those overnight complexes as well. So I do think that this is a better chance to see rainfall. It looks less scattered and more widespread compared to some of the events that we've had recently. So that's what I've got here. I do got a couple more things I want to show for you guys. So this right here is looking on the SPC website, and this is looking at our satellite currently. And again, you can see that MCV. We were talking about it here just near St. Louis, and everything, you can kind of see the spinning around that MCV here. And that will continue through the afternoon and evening hours. And again, here's where Louisville is where my cursor is right here. And you can see these thunderstorms are away from that MCV complex. They're not near that mini low pressure, which is why they're moving so slow. And it's not really widespread convective thunderstorms right now. We won't get that until this low pressure moves towards us as we get through the afternoon a little bit. Although I will say with these thunderstorms, this is looking at, and I understand that this may be hard to read on the stream. So I'll show this really quickly, but this is kind of what I look at when I forecast any type of severe weather. And this is looking at our downdraft cape, or just the ability for storms to produce damaging winds. And you have a pocket of 1300 D cape here near just west of Bowling Green, near Todd County, all the way along and south of the Western Kentucky Parkways. I think if you do get a pop-up thunderstorm, you could get a downburst wind or an isolated damaging wind gust. And that is before we get that kind of increased storm threat as we get into the overnight. One more thing I did want to show here is just the shear values. So this is the ability for storms to just maintain themselves. This is the wind shear that storms have. And when looking at this here, you can see anything over about 35 knots of wind shear is enough for organized severe weather. And if we look, here's Kentucky right here, and we have no wind shear right now. That is the reason why we don't have any widespread severe weather or anything currently in Kentucky right now. But what we can do on this website is we can fast forward this a little bit here. So this is looking in just about 4 hours. So at about 9 o'clock, you can see that MCV is moving a little bit closer, and we're starting to get 25 to 30 knots of shear. And as we move forward again, you can see that MCV will be all the way into the Boot Hill of Missouri here with about 30 to 35 knots of shear, which will be enough. It's not crazy amounts of wind shear, but enough, I think, to produce a couple of isolated damaging wind threat or damaging wind gusts as we get into the afternoon. So, and especially in the evening. Again, the timing looks to be 11 to 1 a.m. in Western Kentucky, 1 a.m. to 3 a.m. along I-65. Tornado threat is not very high at all. I will show you guys why that is here. When we look at the tornado threat, we'll look at helicity, or the ability for storms to rotate. Anything around 200 is where you have kind of an elevated tornado risk. And we do have a pocket of 200 here into central and southern Missouri. And that's interesting because the SPC did just issue that mesoscale discussion for a possible tornado watch out here in central and southern Missouri. So that is a sneaky tornado target for any storm chasers today. I do think that we could have a possibility of 1 or 2 weak tornadoes here in central or southern Missouri. But again, if we look at Kentucky, we have no helicity or no ability for the storms to rotate. If we fast forward this 2 hours, even with those pop-up thunderstorms that's trying to show up on the HRRR, not much helicity. This will move all the way to 11 p.m. tonight. And again, you guys can see the MCS complex is down into the Boot Hill, southeast Missouri, but we don't have much helicity. And we won't have much storm action until that MCS kind of works its way towards Kentucky. And that won't happen until the evening and overnight hours. So one more thing I did want to show to you guys here was our Zero Meter Chasers website. So if you guys have not seen this yet, give me 1 second and I'm going to pull it up. Here is the Zero Meter website. You guys can submit a photo. So anytime that I go live, I can always check and see the photos that are submitted from you guys, and we can throw them up on the stream, and we will always give credit to any of the photographers or people. I know you guys do a lot of hard work. Storm chasers, just people that do photography in general, do a lot of hard work to get those pictures. So we will never just take a picture and throw it on the stream. We'll always give credit to you guys. So if you guys have any flooding that happens tonight or any damaging winds or anything like that, be sure to go to our website, zerometerchasers.com, and all you have to do is click the submit a photo. And then you'll just attach your photo right here, and then just attach your name, location, and any notes that you want. And again, we'll use these on the website. So as weather gets active, we'll have storm chasers like myself on the Zero Meter Chasers channel. And then we can use you guys to kind of use reports and to report what to expect when severe weather hits. So I'm really excited to use this, kind of be able to involve our community with you guys and have everybody I think people take warnings more seriously when they can see what's going on. And that's with anything, right? So being able to submit these photos and kind of give people an idea of what's actually on the ground. And that is what we try to do here at Zero Meter Chasers. So one more time here, I'm going to look at the Weatherfront website. We'll take one look at the radar real quick. And you will see a severe thunderstorm warning that was issued here in southern Illinois. I'm going to zoom into that just northeast of Fairfield. I'm guessing it's probably 60-mile-an-hour winds, and that's exactly what it's for. So, again, a couple of isolated severe thunderstorms could be possible, especially along this outflow boundary here, just north of I-64 in southern Indiana and southern Illinois. These outflow boundaries will kind of spark thunderstorms as we get into the next couple of hours. But we don't have these outflow boundaries in Kentucky. So I don't see much of a storm threat until that MCV or MCS works into Kentucky, but we could have some of those isolated pop-up thunderstorms until we get into the evening. Again, worried about the flash flooding risk in western Kentucky in the overnight, especially here from Paducah to Murray, far western Kentucky. I'm worried for 3 to 6 inches of rain all the way through the morning commute. So if you guys have any family that are in flood-prone areas in western Kentucky, please let them know that there is, I think, an elevated flash flooding risk in western Kentucky today. So that's all I got for you guys. So I will give you guys a couple minutes here to put any questions that you have in the chat. If I haven't answered anything, Columbia, yeah, I definitely think Columbia will see some storms, but it'll be more in the overnight hours. So I think Columbia is going to be after midnight when you're going to see any storms. And it'll likely be a tamer version, but we'll still have to watch for the flash flooding risk, even in Columbia. I think everywhere in Kentucky, depending on where the storms kind of track in the overnight hours, has an elevated flash flooding risk as we get into the overnight. So, again, I'll do the timing one more time. You guys make sure you put those comments in the chat. 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. in western Kentucky. Looks like when storms are going to start, could get some isolated damaging wind gusts in Paducah or Murray or even Evansville. If you're along the I-65 corridor, I'm thinking around 1 to 3 a.m. For when the storms are going to arrive. But I do think that we'll continue to see that storm development all the way through our morning commute. And if you're watching this live and you live in Kentucky, I am worried about the overnight flooding risk, but I'm most worried about the flooding risk. I want to show that one more time here because I do think where I draw this right here is where I think we could get an area of 1 second here, about 3 to 6 inches of rain. So, and I do think if you're outside of this red circle, you could 100% still see flash flooding, 100%. But I'm really worried about the training of thunderstorms here in far western Kentucky from Murray to Paducah with the ability for storms to produce 3 to 5 inches of rain. And when you wake up in the morning, it could be a lot different than when you go to sleep if you live in this area. So I do have family that lives in this area, so I am watching that flash flooding risk kind of in the Kentucky Lakes region. Not only the flash flooding risk, but the river flooding risk as well with all these repeated rounds in the next couple of days. So that's what I've got for you guys. I will tell you, I'm going to go live again tonight, 100%. I don't think that this is going to be a widespread severe weather risk, but I am worried about the flash flooding risk tonight. So I will fire up a stream. We'll continue to have updates. I think Corey will be live on here later this afternoon, probably this evening, with another update to keep you guys updated and another radar and kind of what to expect as we get into the overnight. But I just wanted to give you guys an idea of what to expect as we got into the overnight. And I think flash flooding in the overnight is our number one risk. It's the number one threat. And especially if you live in western Kentucky, that's what I'm most worried about. So that's what I got for you guys. We'll continue to give you guys updates. On Twitter is Kentucky_WX. If you're not following, make sure you follow as I give continuous updates on there. I know I talked about having a storm chasing day today. I'm not going to chase today. The setup just doesn't look that good with everything kind of getting pushed to the overnight. But again, I think we'll have another complex in western Kentucky, especially as we get into Friday afternoon. And that one could also have damaging winds and possibly an isolated tornado as well. So again, I appreciate all the support from everybody. We'll have continuous updates here, Zero Meter Chasers, and I hope everybody has a blessed day. And just make sure you stay weather aware as we get into the evening and overnight hours. Thank you, guys, and have a great day.